Welcome to Alaska Community News, where we share stories all across the last frontier. It's February 2013. Last year, there was an opinion piece written in the New York Times by a professor from the Minnesota of Psychology at the University of Minnesota's Institute of Child Development. His name is Professor L. Alan Sroff. The title of the piece was Ritalin Gone Wrong. He poses a very interesting question. Why do we rely so heavily on drugs? According to the article, 3 million children in the U.S. are on habit-forming drugs like Ritalin or Adderall for problems in focusing. Professor Allen has been studying troubled children and their development for over 40 years. He states in his article, attention deficit drugs increase concentration in the short term, which is why they work so well for college students cramming for exams. But when given to children over long periods of time, they neither improve school achievements nor reduce behavior problems. The drugs can also have serious side effects, including stunting growth. Sadly, few physicians and parents seem to be aware of what we've been learning about the lack of effectiveness of these drugs. The article reveals that, in his opinion, children's problems are not going to be solved by drugs. In our own Anchorage community, there's a national leader among us who's addressing this very issue. His name is Jim Gottstein. He's an Alaskan-based attorney. Jim Gottstein, a Harvard graduate, founded PsychRights, which is a nonprofit, tax-exempt, public interest law firm. His mission is to fight forced psychiatric drugs as well as electric shock therapy. Last year, he was a guest speaker at the University of Alaska Pacific University, and his topic was drugging use in elderly.
Diagnosed children with a serious mental illness. They used to call, when I first started out in this and being on the mental health board of the Alaska Mental Health Association, they had this category called seriously emotionally disturbed youth or children, SED. And they basically said, you know, children go through things. They have developmental stages, and we just can't know while they're children. You have to be adults until we can diagnose them. Okay, then, in order to promote drug sales, Johnson & Johnson paid this Harvard psychiatrist by the name of Joseph Biederman to do a study to prove that Risperdal helped, was good for children with bipolar disorder. So he, and then I forget the other guy, really promoted this idea that children had bipolar disorder, and it really is a justification for giving them drugs. And then they would say things, it sounds absurd, but they say, the criteria, the symptoms of childhood bipolar disorder doesn't look anything like adult bipolar disorder. So basically, if you have a temper tantrum, then you get, then that if someone has a temper tantrum, that gets diagnosed as bipolar disorder.
I was able to sit down with Jim last month.
What's happened is we've kind of turned over this issue over to the psychiatrists, who are supposed to be the experts, and we should be able to rely on them. But they've betrayed our trust, because they're supposed to really, basically know the truth, know the science behind mental illness, and there really is no science behind the idea that mental illness is some kind of brain defect. They're supposed to know the science behind the drugs, including that, like for example, even the stimulants given for ADHD like Ritalin or Strattera, the studies show there's no long-term benefit. There's only, so there's only a short-term benefit, and the benefit is really the benefit for the adults, because it really causes children and youth to focus. It'll cause anybody to focus. But then it loses its effectiveness. So they don't really help, they don't really work, and they have pretty serious negative effects. The stimulants cause cardiovascular problems. They increase, there's a study that showed that they increase the rate of cocaine abuse by 4 times. I say cardiovascular problems, including death. Some 18-year-olds are dying of heart disease.
So what will happen to our use if we continue down this path of using drugs to solve our behavior problems? And when I asked him why he invests in the future of our children, his response?
I can't even come up with an adjective or other descriptive word that I think can convey the huge amount of harm that's going on. And I don't know, to me, it's just not something that I can let go by without trying to do something. To me, the question is, why isn't everybody upset about this?